So a few years back, I found myself in a lot of debt. I tried every money tips in the book, cut out lattes, stop eating out, you name it. But honestly, none of it really worked for me until I changed one thing, my mindset. And I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. If you don't fix the way you think about money and debt, even the best budget won't save you. In fact, one coach said that if you somehow pay off your debt without changing your mindset, you're likely to end up right back in debt again. And that hit me hard and convinced me to do things differently. So in today's video, I want to share with you the 5 key mindset shifts that really helped me pay off my debt. These aren't strict financial tactics. They're more like ways to think about your money and yourself. And trust me guys, they made all the difference. Let's get into it. Number 1, face the music. Honesty over denial. The first shift was brutal but necessary. I had to face the music and accept exactly how much debt I had. I wasn't pretending I was living debt free anymore. For years, I wouldn't even look at my credit card statement or add up my balances. It was too obvious. I was living in complete denial, moving money around to avoid interest rate fees, but never accepting the total numbers. It's like avoiding the scale when you know you've gained weight. If you don't see the numbers, it's not real. But avoiding reality was only hurting me. And that's when I realized I couldn't fix the problem if I wasn't willing to face it. So one day I sat down, took a deep breath, and added up all my debt. Student loan, credit card, everything. When I saw the final number, I basically started laughing in disbelief. And I mean, it was bad, really bad. But you know what? After that emotional meltdown, I actually felt a weird sense of relief because I knew what I was up against. It's like finally looking under the bed to see the monster and realize, okay, it's big, but at least I know exactly how it looks like now. And the key mindset here is being honest with yourself over constantly lying to yourself. I had to tell myself, yes, this is the reality of things. It's a big number, but it's not impossible, and it doesn't have to define me. So instead of letting shame paralyze me, I started using that reality check as motivation. And most financial experts say that engaging with your debt and actually acknowledging it is crucial. And if you're overwhelmed and feeling ashamed, it's tempting to ignore it and try not to deal with it. But that only gives the debt more power over you. So step 1 for me was facing my debt head on so I can have a clear goal on how to deal with it. And I promise you, once you do this, you'll feel more in control because you're no longer running from the truth. Number 2, forget the shame and own your journey. Next, I had to drop the shame and excuses I've been carrying. For the longest time, I felt like a failure for having debt. I blamed myself, how could I let this happen? Or am I just bad with money? That negative energy I was putting out there was heavy and I felt stuck. So the second mindset shift was learning to forgive myself for past mistakes and taking ownership of my finances moving forward. And one big moment for me was deciding that I was really done being in debt. And I'm not just saying it, but I was serious about changing my habit. I realized I couldn't keep making excuses like everyone else has debt. And there's this one saying that goes, you have to live like no one else now so that later you can live like no one else. Meaning you have to make some big sacrifices to get big results. Shout out to Dave Ramsey for that one. It means that I needed to start living like a person who wants to be debt free, not a person who's currently in debt. So I stopped blaming the economy or some random emergency expenses and started taking responsibility for myself. I also stopped thinking about my debt as a personal worth issue. Having debt doesn't mean you're a bad person, it just means you have a problem to solve. I had to learn that my self-worth was not my net worth. Letting go of that embarrassment was big. It gave me a lot of mental energy. And a financial therapist actually says that you can't control your past financial decisions, but you can change your mindset going forward. And all those small mindset shifts make a huge difference. Number 3, from scarcity to abundance. Believe it's possible. This one was huge. Shifting from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. In plain English, I stopped telling myself, there's no way out, I'll never have enough money, and I started to believe that improvement is possible and there's a lot of opportunities out there. When you're drowning in debt, it's easy to feel hopeless and think you'll be stuck forever. I definitely felt that, like I was in a deep hole looking up and everyone else was on solid ground. But that hopeless thinking was actually keeping me stuck. I had to learn to open up my perspective and trust that I can make progress little by little. And a few things made this change possible. I started reading and listening to stories of people who had paid off their debt and their debt was way bigger than mine. So I actively work on changing my mindset. Instead of, I'll never get out of this hole, I started saying, it's going to be tough, but I'll get out of debt anyway. I know it's not guaranteed, but retraining my brain to believe that it's possible made a big difference. I also began seeing money as something I could attract more of by working smarter or finding new opportunities. For instance, I thought about how I could bring in extra income from side gig, freelancing, selling stuff I didn't need anymore, and so on. And that right here is an abundance mindset. Seeing potentials and options where before I saw nothing. And here's the cool thing. Once I started adopting this mindset, I actually started noticing more opportunities. Maybe those opportunities were always there and I just hadn't seen them. But it felt almost like the universe was throwing a sign at me when I changed my outlook. Number 4, find your why, make debt freedom personal. Paying off your debt isn't easy. It's often saying no to things you want at that moment. So how do you stick with it in the long run? For me, the answer was finding my why. A purpose that was way bigger than the short-term fun. This mindset shift was about focusing on what I was gaining. Freedom, peace of mind, a better future. Rather than just what I was losing, which was night out, new gadget, etc. I started to view each debt payment not as a sacrifice, but as an investment in my future. And one day it hit me that every dollar I put towards my debt was buying me a little more freedom. At the same time, every time I was about to swipe my credit card for something I didn't really need, I asked myself, is this worth delaying my freedom? And I began to see debt itself as something that was stealing from my future. As one blogger puts it, right? When you commit to loan payment, you're basically robbing your future self of the freedom to make choices with that money. Your past spending is deciding what your present self has to pay. That realization was a major wake-up call for me. I wanted my future self, let's say 5 years from now, be calling the shot, not still cleaning up my current mess. So I got very clear on my why. It was the vision of a stress-free life where I wasn't scared to check my mail or my banking app, where I could eventually think about buying a home or taking a vacation without 5 credit cards hovering over my head. I wanted peace and I wanted options. Maybe to change career one day or start a family, and I knew debt was one of the things that could block it all. Whenever I felt tempted to buy something new, I paused and I imagined my future. Me, debt-free, with a massive saving in the bank, and honestly, that mental picture gave me more happiness than any impulse purchase ever could. Number 5, pace yourself, balance, and celebrate the small win. Last but importantly, I learned to pace myself and even enjoy the journey by balancing discipline with a little joy. At the beginning, I thought paying off debt meant living like a monk, not having fun, not treating myself, just the bare minimum. But let's be real, that's a one-way ticket to burnout. And if you're trying to sprint a marathon, you're gonna hit a wall. Paying off a lot of debt is a marathon. So the mindset shift was to approach it in a sustainable way. First up, I gave myself permission to have fun within limit. I also set aside a tiny monthly budget to treat myself, which I call fun money. Because I knew if I cut out everything I enjoyed for a few years, I'd go crazy and probably give up. So I put $20 or $50 every month to spend on whatever I could while still sticking to my debt plan. It could be a cheap dinner with a friend, a new bug, or a video game. But that little allowance kept me from burning out. Another thing I want you to recognize is that it's okay if it takes time. I had to accept that slow and steady really win this race. In the beginning, I wanted the debt to be gone as fast as possible. But I learned to be patient and just keep making payment. And a great piece of advice I read said, start small and think big, and it will all add up. In other words, focus on the day-to-day action and trust that with consistency, they'll snowball into something huge. Every single payment, even the little ones, get you closer to freedom. So thank you guys for watching today's video. If you gained any value from this, don't forget to like, subscribe, or push the notification bell for more on sustainable fashion, personal finance, and minimalism. I'll see you guys on my next video.